This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
For me, the cars have personality.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic podcast. This is JP, and my guest today is Fabrizio Giugiaro from Italy. He and his father, Giorgetto, founded GFG Style, the Italian brand that stands for the most successful designs, not only in automotive history, but also in industrial design. And there's a lot to talk about. Welcome, Fabrizio.
Ciao, everybody. Buongiorno.
I just said you and your father founded GFG Style, but that was only in 2015, and your designs were already world famous. So where did your legacy start?
Yes, let me say that everything starts from the experience and the story of Giugiaro in the field, of course, of car design. So in the 70s already, my father, in a company that was 100% developing car design, sometimes he had some requests for industrial design, like camera, watches, but special, for example, coach for train, tubes, and buses like this. Mm-hmm. So then we had to invest to create a specific organization with specific designer in order to develop the rest of the business in creativity, which is not a vehicle. Then also Architettura arrived in the end of the 90s, because in Torino, as you know, was the city of the Winter Olympic Games, and the authority of Torino started to ask us some building from nothing. And then we understood that this could be also a nice business. And after that, let me say, start making simple pavilion for this Olympic, we also arrive today making a big business. We are the third architectural studio in Italy. And the most important building we have done is the Juventus Stadium in Torino and university, made in this case the university together also with Forster. So the Architettura became a big business.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you also built the Juventus Stadium. Amazing. And going back to the 70s, into your childhood, how was it growing up with such a father? I mean, your father is Giorgetto Giugiaro, the man behind many great car designs like BMW M1, Fiat Panda, Volkswagen Golf, Audi 80, Maserati Boomerang. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So how was it?
Because can you imagine a kid that see every day his father arriving with different strange car, because the fact that my father was working especially for Asia, Japan, Korea, and then also China, allowed me to see things that nobody else was able to see. So the curiosity to see the Japanese growing in the 80s, and then as well, of course, the most beautiful car like BMW, Lamborghini, etc. So I was always involved, seeing my father arriving every day nearly with different cars, because before make the new one, normally the company give you the last one to study and to develop. So in my garden, there was sometimes just a Volkswagen Beetle when he replaced the Beetle into the Golf, or a Lamborghini when we develop other project for Lamborghini. So it was funny to have sometimes a cheap car and sometimes also a Rolls Royce. And anyway, it was difficult for a kid to don't be crazy about this job. And then the nice thing is that my family, not only my father, but my grandfather and the father of my grandfather were all artists. Mm-hmm. So I like it to sketches, to make drawing, and then at the time was, of course, manual. So, and I started to go in a high school of arts, then university, Architettura. Then in 1990, was funny because my father was so busy that it was impossible for him to develop the car for Geneva Motor Show 1991. And he just said to me, in my opinion, you are quite prepared. Why don't you do the car for Geneva? I don't have time. Yeah. And then I did my first car for that, and I was 24, 25.
I mean, that's very rare to have your own car at the Geneva Car Show at the age of 25, 24, right? That's crazy. What was the car?
The car was a BMW. My dream was to replace the M1 that he did in the 80s, and we M1 was very particular for me in my life because my father, thanks God, decides in the company to don't produce cars, but just, let me say, design and engineering. Except the BMW M1, because BMW had some problem with the deal that they were doing with Lamborghini to build the car.
Yeah.
And they offer to build just the body, not the entire car, just the body. And so when I was going to the factory, we saw sometimes 100 M1 with different color in this factory. And before that, I was following, anyway, I was 15, the model that was developed. I remember each detail of the car because, of course, which all the car he was doing, Panda is nice, but let me say, between a Panda and a BMW M1, little bit different. No, the passion is different. Panda, I respect it.
Just a little bit.
Yes,
just a little bit.
Yeah. So when I could do my first car, the M1 was already out of the production. The BMW M1 was a mythos, but was not in the plan of BMW to replace it. And we offer, okay, why don't we do a concept car and then we see it. So we had an incredible support from BMW. My father was laughing because I was 24, 25. And in a room, I was me, the translator in German, and 10 different engineers from BMW that would listen to me and say, okay, we do this. Because I was not only the designer of the car, I was really the leader and the chief responsible of that project. So I had to work for the chassis, for the mechanic, for the ergonomy, everything. So my father was totally crazy because he left in my hands everything. But then I understood that I understood because so I study a lot the M1. I study a lot the M1. On that experience, we developed it, and then I was really attracted by, at the time, races of the Group C. And the car is, anyway, inspired by the Group C that were racing in all Europe. Yeah. And the shape looks like a little Group C.
And I mean, we just, for all the excitement, how it all started, it's of course the BMW Nazca M12.
Yes, the BMW Nazca M1, M12 is the right.
Exactly. So, yeah. I mean, it was so cool. A couple of years ago, you were so kind to brought this one to an event in Sardinia, and we drove it on an old airfield. Yeah. And I mean, you really drove it not like a concept car. You really see this car is full on, no? Yeah. 12-cylinder powered.
Yeah. I mean, I found my way of doing cars, especially show car, very, very easily. I create a car for show, for Geneva area, but thinking immediately when I could drive it. So for me, it's not a show car, it's a car for me. At the end, it's a car for me. Yeah. So the BMW Nazca, as you mentioned, when after 30 years, because it was at that time, 3 years ago, 30 years old, I was spinning in the airfield like 30 years before. The car is still working well.
But could you take us on the journey? Because, of course, for those who don't see the Nazca, which I'm sure the majority of those who tuned in have already, but how would you describe the Nazca? It's not only the design, you also brief the engineers and stuff like this. Yeah. How did this all start in your mind?
The Nazca start really mixing the experience of the M1, that is a beautiful mid-engine car, very comfortable. The point that surprised everybody, how comfortable is this extreme supercar, no?
Yeah.
Then my passion to the race, not Formula One, not even today really attracted by Formula One because are not cars, for me are rockets. But the Group C, like the Le Mans today, let me say the Le Mans cars are cars.
Yes.
With two-seat, with something more related to, let me say, daily use. So the challenge to make something extreme, but is not for the track, is something that attracts me. So the shape, if you look at the Nazca with this big, with the important dome, we call it cupola, made all by glass, remember really the Le Mans cars with a kind of shape of like
large windscreen.
Exactly. Yeah. Very tight, of course, and big shoulder, front, of course, low. The car surprised also BMW in how good was the aerodynamics, and I didn't do any test. It was just like this, at 0.30. At the time, F40 was 0.45. And
Wow.
the M1, and yes, the M1 was also quite good, but like 0.38, 0.40, and the Nazca arrived 0.30. Was an incredible success because I spent a lot of time with my father in the wind tunnel years since I was a kid. I remember in 1980 the Medusa, the Lancia Medusa, he made as a concept car. It was 0.27, was a miracle at the time. So aerodynamics, I learned from the method and some little stupid rules.
Okay.
It's not difficult to make a car aerodynamics. Anyway, the inspiration, it is, of course, M1 for the face, the face that remember, and it is the synthesis of BMW heritage and BMW style.
Yeah.
The rest is pure fantasy around the racing car that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, look up for the pictures, everyone, because it's really like one of my favorite concept cars. And what I really like is that the ace is just a bow and there's no bunny. So that's really it looks really cool. And then, of course, we shall not forget in 1991, when Nazca came, there was also the C2 coming out for Tokyo, I think.
Hey, it was funny because was incredible successful. This show car was a car that was in the cover of all magazines in the world. And BMW tried to find a way to produce it.
Yeah.
But as you remember, we've been not very lucky at the time because in 1991, there was nearly the end of the famous war in the Gulf, in Kuwait. So at that time, all the supercar, also the Ferrari F40, dropping. There was no market. Nobody wanted to buy anymore any supercar.
Yeah.
The version that we call C2, C always to remember at that time the group C that were racing.
Yeah.
So the C2 arrived immediately 6 months after at the Tokyo Motor Show, always in 1991, keeping the door and changing just front and rear. Also to prove to BMW how flexible was this project. So with two different, let me say, component, you can have also immediately the extreme version if the Nazca was not enough, like I did.
As if. I mean,
Exactly.
the Nazca was already enough. I can tell. It really
So
good.
the Nazca then had evolution the year after that I liked it more, the Spider version, because the engine, everything started also, I forgot to say that I was in love with the BMW engine. The 12-cylinder, for me, was a piece of design, In fact, I met the engineer, Mr. Fisher, that made the engine. He made the engine, was so secret that the engine was made in his house, was not made in BMW. It was so secret that he told me the story, I visited him. So we became friends, and he gave me a special one for the prototype. Then for the C2, we used the Alpina version.
Okay.
So the beauty of this head, the beauty and the modernity of the cleanness of this head attract me to make the shape in order to show it.
Yeah.
So in the Nazca, the glass are specular, so you don't see a lot. But in the Nazca C2, the engine is outside, like a motorbike.
Yeah.
There were not many cars at the time, supercar, where the engine was completely out. And people thought it was fake. I said, no, it's not fake, it's the engine, it's the real engine. In fact, the story was funny because we were not exactly authorized to use the BMW badge to put on the car. So we arrived in Tokyo without the BMW. Then Chrysler, at the time, Mr. Chrysler, saw the car and said, why there's no BMW? Because you are not authorized. But immediately he arrived with a two badge, we fixed it during the night in front and the rear.
Yeah. Well done. That's an enormous success story. You surprised everyone.
Also Gordo Murray. He was attracted by one fact.
Tell me.
That in my car, in my Nazca, you can put two big Samsonite and go on a holiday with two people with a lot of bags.
Yes.
And Gordo Murray said, if I put the bags, I can put the engine. If I put the engine, I can put the bags. You did something that is impossible to imitate. So my car was...
But how did you solve that? So, because I didn't know that. If I look at the car, I would say there's no space for any luggage.
No, the trunk in the rear is incredible. You can also remove the two wings and put into the trunk. There were also the spare wheel. And once when I arrived in Pebble Beach and arrived in front of the hotel, the welcome at the entrance, they were waiting for another car with my luggage and said, no, the luggage are here. I opened the trunk and I removed the two Samsung. I was absolutely astonished by that. And also, again, I tell you, because I dream to design a car that then I can drive it and go on holidays. I did a lot of holidays with this car, with my girlfriend at the time. We were in Germany, everywhere. So I'm studying the car from zero. That my father teach me that is not enough to do beauty. It's not enough. The project is big. The project is ergonomy, of course, mechanic, and luggage.
But Fabrizio, how does it work? Like, you create the concept, and you know that most of the concept they don't run. But who built the car then?
No,
is it also
yes,
inside?
Yes, as I'm doing also here, I'm doing completely in my company. I direct personally the project, and I have this feeling to make the show car running. All my show car run, all.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, the latest one I drove with you was the 2030, the electric one, I think.
Yes. It was my first electric vehicle. A supercar completely electric, made in 2019.
Yeah.
Then I could race the Mille Miglia for 2 times. I've been the first in the world racing the Mille Miglia with an electric vehicle. I promote the Mille Miglia green, and the car was just perfect. Also because, as you know, in Italy, the roads are not really nice.
Sometimes.
And the 2030, as you know, I call it hyper SUV. So I could drive in this crazy road of Italy. And also sometimes, because I was together with some journalists, going and prove how good the car is also off-road.
Just designing cars and bring them on the road in a way to drive them and get them road legal and to drive them. I think that's really, really cool, because it shows also that design can be very close to the final product.
Yes, this is what we wanted always to prove, that the show car and the experimental car we do and we were doing for the show are not dream, are related to the future and related to reality very close, even if they look like crazy in the shape, but really a vision of the future realistically vision. That's very important.
Yeah.
And are at the end real, to be driven, because the investment that you do to do a show car is crazy, and between a fake and one that run, the difference is not so big.
Yeah.
I mean, for me. Then other company maybe are very expensive. For me, the gap is not so big, but the different. And the success we always had at the show is that the customer can drive it and understand.
How much does it cost to produce something or design something, develop something like Nazca? Just a rough estimate.
60,000 hours.
60 or 16?
60,000 hours around a project like this. Then you multiply for different cost.
May I come back to the story of how GFG has been established, because it's a collaboration between you and your father.
Yes.
And when was it clear to you that you would like to work with your father?
I don't know.
You're not sure yet.
Exactly. I still have to wonder when I start to work with him. Let me say that the most important step was made to found the GFG, because Italdesign was there already in 1968. He had a partner. Then in 2009, the partner of my father left, and my father decides that I was his partner. So for a moment, we were alone, me and him. The things were going very well, that the company was so important, so healthy, that Volkswagen wanted to buy. And then we say, why not?
Sure.
We did great. So when we decided to sell completely to Volkswagen in 2015, was automatic to found a new one in a different way. We invest together, me and him, for that the name is GFG, on creativity. 360 degrees, as I mentioned, from a building to to an aircraft, because we've been also involved in some interior, not exterior, of course. But cars is the main for us, the main business, and also for me, as I mentioned, is for me the attraction of vehicle is different from anything else.
Yeah.
So we found GFG in 2015, leaving Italdesign, leaving the company to a big OEM, and knowing that 1,000 family had no problems. That was the main things here. Many criticized me because I sold, but it was not as many other that just sold and closed the company. My ex-company is still growing, and Volkswagen is using Italdesign in the best way. So I create another company with, of course, just creativity means not more than 50 people around me, but able to work in the Torino area with more than 150 or 200 people. Sometimes when I do prototype, at the end, there are more than 200 people working on this project.
Amazing. To also mention Italdesign, so that's the company that was founded by your father and the partner.
Yeah.
They worked under the name of Italdesign, doing great work for many other car brands as well, from Maserati to you name it, actually from every car company.
Every brand.
And now I think your father is now 86, if I'm not mistaken. Is he still involved with you? So, and looking back, do you like to work together with him, or do you think also like your own projects are important?
No. It's stupid for me or anybody to, don't let me say a bad word, use my father.
Yeah.
We still the only company, completely independent.
Yeah.
We do project like, for example, Bizzarrini, that for us is very, let me say, attractive because they don't have a styling center. We are doing on the Bizzarrini project everything. So we are 100% responsible for each detail of all parts of the car. So not only the exterior, but also, of course, the interior. Interior means all the detail, each switch, each corner, each net, everything. And the fact that my father is still working with passion with me, it's really a nice thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I don't
amazing,
have any problem to say that I have a help.
Yeah, that's mega. If you look at the design philosophy of the Giugiaro name, both of you have influenced it. What have you learned from your father? And equally important, what has your father learned from you?
My father learned from me one thing very, very funny, that his characteristic of the design, if you see, he always made revolution, always different car, different brand, different styling every time. Once, at the end of the 80s, some journalist or some media said, Giugiaro make cars for the customer without the respect of the brand. And my father was very upset because, listen, I'm doing because they asked me to do a revolution. Of course, the Golf is not related to the Beetle. The Panda is not related to the 500. But if you ask me to do a Jaguar and respect the shape and the language of a Jaguar, I'm able. So the first project that together with me, we decide to say, listen, if Jaguar asks me a Jaguar, I do a Jaguar, was the Kensington. And I work a lot, ask my father and push my father to look back, which is very difficult for him to look back. Look back at the tradition, etc. So the Kensington is one of the most beautiful cars he made, in my opinion. I was making at the same time the Nazca. And then, thanks to this experience, to prove that we are also able to do cars keeping the language of this and the story of an important brand, we could do the famous Bugatti EB112.
I mean, that's a very useful skill, to keep an eye, on the one hand, on the brand's heritage, and on the other hand, develop it further. And what have you learned from your father?
What, in my opinion, I learned from my father is to look always at the future, and no way to copy, of course, is a guy that doesn't copy anything, but to start from zero, think about the project, and really think about the future. Our method is, our signature is no signature. I mean, each car we have done for Maserati, also Ferrari, because we've been involved in the FF heavily, and for Volkswagen or Korean or Chinese or Japanese, are different. There's nothing to do, are different.
That's so nice to say the way you described it, what you learned from your father and vice versa. I just would like to say, everyone who's interested in the history of Giorgetto and Fabrizio Giugiaro and the legacy they're building and have built, I would recommend a very cool book you kindly gifted me. It's called Giorgetto and Fabrizio Giugiaro, Masterpieces of Style. And I tell you, it's like, I compare this book like an ABBA album, because you're not aware that you know every single song on that album, but you have heard it. And every single picture you see in this book, you know, what? This has the name Giugiaro on it? I was not aware of that. So if you want to learn more, I think it's a very good start also to learn about design, company, and masterpiece of style. I think that's a very good recommendation. I was reading it in the preparation of this conversation, and it's really cool because it's easy to read, lots of photos, which I like, and it's really like, sorry for the analogy with ABBA, but it is like that.
Yeah,
you turn a page, this guy as well, this as well, this also. So it's very, very funny.
And this is just about cars, because I will send you another book where there are also the object, and then you cannot imagine other things that maybe you use when you are coming in Italy or taking a train. Both trains are made here. The Italo train, thanks to Montezemolo, was designed by us. The Ferrovie dello Stato, so the national train also. We just introduced in Berlin last week the new train for the Italian train system. This train will go also in Europe. So except the book, there is a website with Giorgetto and Fabrizio. You can see many things.
Okay, so if you don't want to get the book and be more online.
Yes, go on website, Giugiaro, Fabrizio and Giorgetto.
Exactly, just go there. When we look at your portfolio with all these cars, watches, cameras, they all have a certain magic. They are more than objects. My question is, and I discussed this many, many times with friends, is a designer an artist or not?
No, a good designer is not an artist. A good designer is more an engineer than an artist. Then the preparation to be a designer is quite artistic, because, of course, we're looking for shape that does not exist, and the mathematics doesn't help you. No, it's like asking a ChatGPT if you do create. It just assembles something that already has been done. So there is this component strong of the artistic way, but the designer is, in my opinion, a good designer, mainly an engineer with good taste.
Very good. That's a good combination. Fabrizio, we have a little element in our podcast. It's called the pit stop. And the pit stop are some questions, and please answer just as they come into your mind. Don't think too long. And as we have the rule introduced, if you're not sure about one question to answer, you can skip one question. You can say skip, and then we go further.
Okay.
Let's get ready for the classic hard pit stop. Coupe or limousine?
Coupe.
Limousine or station wagon?
Station wagon.
Mint condition or enthusiastically driven?
Oh, enthusiastic driven, of course.
Driving alone or driving with passengers?
Alone.
Driving or being driven?
Driving.
Car sharing or no car?
No car.
Okay, good. Like it. Road trip or racetrack?
Road trip.
Highway or country road?
Oh, country road.
Stick shift or pedal?
Pedal.
Petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Diesel or electric?
Electric.
Electric or no car?
Electric.
Engine in the front or in the back?
In the back.
Engine in the front or in the middle?
In the middle.
Left-hand or right-hand drive?
Italian way.
Left-hand drive, I assume.
Yes.
Left-hand drive or center drive?
Center.
Sell or keep?
Keep.
Buy at auction or at a dealership?
Auction.
Radio on or off while driving?
On.
Podcast or music?
Music.
I tell you, this will change now. But thank you very much. That's the pit stop. Let's jump into some of your answers because I find it very interesting. Coupe or limousine, you said coupe.
Yes.
Then I asked limousine or station wagon. You went for station wagon.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
is this because a limousine is, Berlinetta is a standard car in a sense? Or why do you choose these two options?
Between a coupe and limousine, talking about pure styling, and a coupe is better. Between a limousine and a station wagon, with limousine you waste space. That's the point. You waste space. So
you know what, Fabrizio? I really like with this answer, you exactly showed how a good designer thinks. And then you said car sharing or no car, and you said no then car. I don't drive. Why not?
Well, car sharing is the death of the car. Fun is not the death of mobility. It's a good mobility, but it's a bad answer for be passionate about cars. The first car sharing we did in 1992 with the Biga. Remember, we were the first.
Yes.
But with a specific car, not a car that became a car sharing.
Yeah.
And designing this was very radical, everything else than a beautiful car.
We can agree on that one, I have to say. I mean, we should describe it a little bit. So it's...
the Biga?
Yeah, how would you describe it best? I mean, in shape.
Now disappearing. Remember a London telephone box? Okay?
Yes.
London telephone box was the Biga. Vertical,
yes,
5 seats, 5 passengers in just 2 meters per 150. So extremely radical to answer the problems we have, especially in Italy, of the mobility in the historical center.
Yes.
With the rules of the historical center that now we go 30 kilometers per hour, everything changed. And because it's not your car, it's not a car that you show off, that is the only reason why we buy beautiful car, just to show off ourselves. And it is a public car, like a tram or a bus. You don't have to show to anybody yourself. Yourself is inside, not outside.
Yeah.
So the Biga was very, very tough and very simple.
Yeah, I think it goes a bit to the direction of this tiny Citroën one, the plastic one they built.
The Ami. With a big mistake that the Ami has got the 2 doors.
Yes.
And then in the same space, you have only 2 seats. In our Biga, because we use the door just in the rear, first of all, in less 2 meters, you could be seated in 5 person or 2 plus the one on the wheelchair, which is quite important.
Yeah,
Without
absolutely.
changing anything, you can get into the car directly with a wheelchair. That is a good car sharing.
Thank you for bringing this up because I will look it up again. And now I totally see the analogy to the phone box, the UK phone box, I have to say.
Remember that my father made a revolution in 1977, winning the contest for the New York taxi that was called New York Taxi, of course. So he introduced the idea to make the car in a vertical way and not in a horizontal way. And in the same space that you have inside, you save 1 meter for 100 cars in a city. It's a big save of space as a public save. So
absolutely.
About that was a big revolution that sometimes people forget that my father did and pushed then Fiat to do the famous Uno. That was the first compact car, quite vertical. The Panda as well, but different. And then the MPV, and then the SUV, and then all this generation that we are driving every day that start, look at the past, 1977, New York taxi.
Crazy.
And then the Mega Gamma Lancia. Mega Gamma Lancia.
I think thinking into the future is a great ability of the Giugiaro. There must be something in Giugiaro genes thinking about the future. So then you said you want to drive alone. So no one in the car.
Because everybody that are with me, normally they are scared or they have a drive sick. I mean, they're not very happy because I'm not driving very slowly.
I can confirm that because we went in the 2030. I would assume not always within the speed limits, but I can't really recall. And this car is really quick, I have to say, really, really quick.
Quite quick.
And then also very interesting, stick shift or pedals. You said pedals.
Because the future is this. The future is already driving with a mouse. My God.
Yeah.
But a car has got a steering and pedals. That is the car that we have. We have to make, in my opinion, now a big difference between mobility and cars. Now will be mobility, and you have autonomous driving, electric, driven by I don't know what. And then we have the cars. The cars are engine, noisy, not pollution, because anyway, it's possible to do engine clean, but with charm. It's like a watch from Cartier or a watch from Swatch. Both show you the time, but one has got something, the other has got something else.
It has something else, actually.
Exactly. With all respect, show the hours anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And we use our phones for this nowadays. So that's in addition to that. And then why do you think that the middle engine is one of the greatest concepts?
Because when you drive a mid-engine car, it's completely different than any kind of cars. Any kind with the front engine can be power, can be anything that you want, but when you have just 10 centimeters from your ass to the start of the engine, the feeling is absolutely unique. There's nothing you compare in a car that give you the emotion with a mid-engine car. A pure, real mid. I'm not talking about Porsche 911. I'm talking about really mid-engine. From Miura to our Bizzarini or to the Nazca, where the engine is just 10 centimeters far from your ass.
It's a hot seat, I would say.
Sorry.
Thank you for these great results of our little pit stop. It's always fun because it shows also a bit the mindset of our guests. And I think you've done very well. So congratulations to that one, especially as this is your first podcast appearance. Before we come to the end, I just would like to speak about good design and bad design. I think that's also always something that we say very easy in normal conversations. Oh, no, this is a bad design. Ah, this is very good design. From a designer standpoint, not from the man Fabrizio, just from a designer standpoint, how would you define good or bad design?
The real answer is this. Good design in a car business is when the car is sold well on the market. There's nothing to do. Toyota is number one in the world. Tell me one car that took an award of design. So the answer is we have a goal. We have to create a shape, first of all, that will be understandable for everybody in the world. From Australia to Canada, everybody must understand. So the success of Toyota is this. I can't say Toyota are beautiful, okay? So then there are beautiful design. My respect is when the design is also functional. So I don't like the design that are just, let me say, fantasy or just beauty.
Yeah,
so
we feel that already in your conversation, I have to say.
Anyway, in the car business, tell me one ugly car that has been successful. So then to do a beautiful car always help. I can give you so many examples of cars and brand that could grow thanks to the design. Think about the Jaguar Land Rover, let me say, phenomenon, because 15 years ago, would you buy a Jaguar or Land Rover? Very difficult. Now, honestly, the success they have, they still have an incredible good technology, but they are beautiful. And this mix made the success. The only beauty, honestly, can help at once. If the car is ugly, difficult to convince people to come into a dealer and buy a car. So it's like the flower, no? A flower are made to be beauty, then you have the trick. So make a good shape, and then you start to discuss. If it's ugly, you don't go.
I agree. And so for me, it also would be very interesting to understand, like BMW Group has so many different variety of cars. You have the BMW cars, you have Rolls-Royce, and you have Mini. Yeah. How do you see the importance of having a heritage and looking back at your family's heritage? How important is to have heritage to be prepared for the future?
Oh, it's very, very important. The brand language is, in my opinion, something that create the success of BMW, Audi, and Mercedes compared to the other, and also Alfa Romeo. So it's very important. I think the Genesis brand now is coming more successful than some other luxury brand like Infiniti or Lexus, because there is a kind of continuity. They are creating a story. They are creating an heritage. Why they are doing well? Technically impeccable, but like Infiniti or Lexus or other. Why they are successful? Because the design respect and it's got a soul.
Yeah.
Or let's call it heritage. BMW, Mini, and Rolls-Royce are a strong brand. May I say, I see more heritage in Mini than in BMW at the moment, but BMW must make some revolution, so it must risk, of course.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's get excited what will come in the future. And I'm sure that the guys in Munich have some ideas that will surprise us. Fabrizio, we could talk hours about every single car that your name is on and the name of your father is on. One last question. There is a car that starred in a movie that was so influential to pop culture, even until today, and this movie is called Back to the Future. And the car I'm referring to is, of course, the DMC DeLorean. And this car has been designed by Giorgetto, your father. So, in the beginning of our conversations, you said it was very exciting for you that your father sometimes brought cars back home that have not been seen on the road before. Was that also the case with the DeLorean?
First of all, I was driving the DeLorean before the movie when I was 15, and in the road near my house were private. So I used to take the DeLorean going to pick up a girl next to me. I was working, or also at 15 years old. Then it was funny because it was not in production yet. It was 79, no? And I had the first prototype that arrived with my father at home. And then when we went to see, me and my father, we have a common passion that is movie, James Bond, whatever.
Yeah.
We went to see Back to the Future, and we didn't know. At that time, it was not like today. You were going to see a movie for the first time in a theater, and you don't know anything. And then we found that was the DeLorean. We were laughing.
No way.
Yes, we didn't know. We didn't know.
You didn't know that beforehand?
No, we didn't know. It was funny. Also, The Spy Who Loves Me, when James Bond used the Lotus Esprit, we didn't know. We didn't know. So about the DeLorean was that we didn't know. Then when there was Back to the Future 3, I was 18, and I went to the theater with the DeLorean in Torino.
That must be quite a sight.
Nice effect. It was a nice effect.
Very good. I'm sure, Fabrizio, you have many of these funny stories. Thank you very much that you shared some of them today with us, and also giving us the insights of what a design company really does, and also what it means to work together with a father who do the same thing, designing objects, mainly cars. Yeah. But that was very eye-opening, and you did very well on your first podcast, I have to say, and I hope that there are many more to come. And of course, we like to thank everyone who tuned in today to this episode of Classic Heart. And please do let us know if you would like to have a guest that you would like to propose to us. And the best way to do so is by sending an email, which is BMW Group -classic at shot-1.de. So whenever you have someone you like to hear, give us feedback, or would like to propose something that we should add to our little program, please do so. And also, as I always say, let's beat the algorithm and like this podcast, give us stars and follow us and subscribe to us that you don't miss any of the future episodes. And also, I would like to thank, as usual, the great team behind this podcast, which is Friederike von Königswald, our editor, and then Marcus and Alex from Scenario Studio in Munich, and our producer Robin Seiser from Shot One, and of course our guest Fabrizio Giugiaro and me, JP. Thank you very much, Fabrizio, for joining us today. It was super fun. Thank you very much.
Grazie
a voi.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.